Well, guys, the chalk we played flopped. The chalk we didn't play went nuclear. Today, I'm broadcasting live from a body bag sewn together by Derrick Henry. It's week 6. Welcome to a very appropriately titled show. This is the Tilt Space. I tried to cancel the show today. My name's Peter Overzet. I'm here with Mike Leone and Joe Holka. This show is, it's more fun when we have something to sweat, when we're winning, as we all take pulls from our hard alcohol. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, I guess anytime you can be 1v1 away from the nuts, you have to do it, right? I'd be having a great week if I just would have played the big dog. What am I thinking?
Wait, Leone, are you going to let Holka talk about a team we don't even collectively have right now?
Isn't that what you guys have been doing the last few weeks?
No, I'll give it to Joe. I mean, that's tough, 1v1. I'm too worn down to get mad at Joe right now. I feel like I want to get mad at him, but I just don't have the energy. It was one of those weeks where the way I played, I probably wasn't winning anything no matter what, but the way that Houston-Tennessee game went down in the fourth quarter really coffined me with the chalk AJ Brown touchdown and Houston scoring the touchdown and going for 2 and not getting it. So then the game goes to overtime. And then as bad as not having Henry was, a 30 spot, okay, you can survive it a little bit. You can get some in cashes. Then he gets to 46 in overtime. I mean, that was basically 25 points for the chalk teams right there with Brown and Henry. That was tough.
Especially if you would have seen our chats from the first half of the game, we're like, you know what? Our plays aren't hitting that well, but man, the chalk is all flopping too. Like, I think we're good. We're kind of heavy on this Green Bay Tampa Bay game. And then literally like in a blink of an eye, it's like Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, just blow after blow after blow.
Even Thielen gets a 2-yarder touchdown. We had Jefferson. So it was like this weird stretch where Jefferson went nuts, and I was like, okay. And then the Houston-Tennessee stuff happened immediately, and it undid all the Jefferson goodwill.
I wasn't even like completely watching it at parts during like the middle of the day. So I asked you guys, I was like, what is even winning right now? And at that point, it was like all the Matt Ryan stacks, right? And all the Matt Ryan stacks then got passed by all the Tennessee teams for the most part, right? Is that kind of where we're at?
Oh my God, this guy from the Jets just caught a ball behind his back for an interception. But yeah, the Matt Ryan, and that's also what happened. I was like semi live in the 7-7-7 with a Ryan double with Jefferson coming back as my bailout. And then, Mixon's not in there. Gio Bernard's in there. And then Henry just lays a hammer. I had Mike Davis and, Joe, you had, as you said, the 1v1 on the nuts where you had room for at least I didn't have room for Henry. It must really suck to have had room for Henry and not played him.
Yeah, literally. We'll go through. I'm not ready to go through that yet. How else was like? I think Peter and I were both in a pretty stiff competition to who was going to be last in the spy. Like Peter and I were literally like 1-2, like pulling up the rear. I don't know where you're at now, but I'm basically there still.
So I'm doing a little bit better in the bigger spy. I will just want to say in the secondary spy, that's 2,222 people. I am right now in 2,219th place. I am literally third from last place in the spy right now. I do think we should catch people up on what our team was in the luxury box. Yeah. This week, we played 1 entry in the luxury box. We wanted that chance at $200,000. We played 2 lineups in the 777. And then at the last minute, we decided we wanted a few other plays we wanted to get in. So we put a lineup into the Wildcat. But here was our main lineup in the luxury box. We did a skinny stack with Cam Newton to Damiere Byrd, min price there. We didn't bring it back. We put in Gaskin and Davis as kind of our chalk running backs we were willing to hit. And then we wanted to do a little bit of a game stack without the quarterback. So we played Adams and Tanyan and Godwin coming back. And that ended up leaving us along with the Dolphins D with 5,200. I said, guys, 5,200. That's Laviska Shenault. We got to play Laviska Shenault. How could it not work out? How could my bit, I decided to latch on to Laviska Shenault as the rookie I'm hyping. Why couldn't it have been Chase Claypool? Why couldn't it have been Justin Jefferson? This team shit the bed.
Man, I felt so good about this Cam Newton little mini stack too, because our entire roster construction here felt like it was really strong. It's just every single play we caught the floor, literally every single play. I guess Dolphins D, our savior.
There's part of me that's did I go overboard fading the chalk this week? And then you look at it, Madison stunk, Thielen was pretty bad, Davis stunk, and it's I kind of just the chalk piece that I chose to eat was Davis over Derrick Henry. And, I don't know if you could call that a huge process error. Obviously I wish I played Henry over Mike Davis, but it wasn't, I don't think I got too contrarian. I don't think we got too contrarian. It just didn't work out for us.
I wanted to have that conversation because there was some chatter online of people who didn't want to take the L on Derrick Henry today. Let's just, for the sake of the luxury box, he comes in at 29.5%. So even a little less owned than Mike Davis, which I assume will be flipped in lower stakes. I assume Henry was more popular in lower stakes. But Leone, Holka, was Derrick Henry a bad process play this week?
No, I don't think
idea.
so. I mean, I had him projecting really close to Mike Davis. I don't think he was a bad I think you could have been on either side of that. It was I think it would have been bad to jam all the chalk running backs. And, we chose Mike Davis over Henry. We were wrong. I don't think the people that chose Henry over Mike Davis got super lucky or anything. We know Henry has a massive ceiling. So, yeah, I'll take the L on it. I'm not going to say the people who played Henry got lucky. I think, when Curtis Samuel was out too, I was really okay, there's just no backup running back. It's Trenton Cannon. And I thought Mike Davis was going to catch a million dump offs and he really wasn't involved in the passing game. So, I don't think it was a bad play. What do you think? Do you think Henry was a bad play that worked out or what?
No, I don't think that at all. It's just, it's unfortunate when a guy that is like you're saying, he's so close in projection, so close in ownership, but it's a 30K swing, right? So Peter's team, literally Cousins, Thielen, Jefferson, Irv Smith brings it back with Jones, and then all the chalk running backs, Henry, Montgomery, Gaskin, Dolphins D. Heading over to the juke here. Here's me sitting in 17th, but instead, Mike Davis at 35%. Yeah. Literally the same ownership, very similar projection. If anything, maybe just don't play two running backs in the same game, but literally a 1v1 away from a team that's going to take down 200K. That's rough. That is rough.
I feel like too, one thing we've talked about a lot too, build smart lineups, and you could have built a smart lineup with any of the chalk running backs. So I don't think if Henry was coming in at 50% owned and Mike Davis and Madison were 25, I would say Henry was a stupid play. But that wasn't the case. We knew they'd be all about equal.
This team was kind of meant to be.
I have a Snickers ice cream bar to help soothe the show.
That sounds delicious.
No free ads.
I'm unwrapping it.
I will say, shout out Pete Jennings here in first of the luxury box. He also did the same move that propelled Mike to a big week last week with that triple stack, where he just says, you know what? I don't want to have to guess on Thielen, Irv Smith, and Justin Jefferson. I think there's going to be a lot of points here. I'll just cover the board. And if you hit that game stack, he only got, when you look at Pete's lineup here, he only gets he gets two things right. He gets the mega game stack and he gets Derrick Henry. The chalk on Montgomery and Gaskin and Dolphin has just been fine. When you over leverage with the game stack, all you have to do is get two things right and you can win $200,000.
Pete, this is this lineup was meant to be not necessarily a troll, but this was hey, I'm going to play all of the chalky running backs, and then I'm just going to have a game stack in there that might be a little bit lower on. It's the game stack itself, in the juke at least, Cousins, Julio, Jefferson, all of those guys are sub 10%, bringing it back with, Thielen and Irv Smith over 20%, or Thielen and 30% at this point. But all the running backs were super chalky on both these teams. Obviously, Davis 35 in the juke. Henry was 29% in the luxury box. So it's like the same exact construction, but you guys just ripped on me for wanting to do this construction last week. What's different? Just the results?
Construction we were ripping you on?
Playing 3 of the chalk running backs on a roster.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Oh yeah.
Joe, come on. Madison stunk. Montgomery was super meh. Davis stunk. Like, he didn't win because he played 3 chalk running backs. You know,
Okay.
he won because he played Henry and the best stack.
No,
and then he had
it
2
also the pieces that did pop off, Jefferson and Julio, were 2 of the lower owned pieces in that game.
That's literally my point, though. Like, that was my point. The entire like debacle of last week is if you played the chalk running backs, like, and by chalk running backs, I just mean like the guys that are all 30% owned, but you get different with either a stack or with pieces of said stack. Sometimes it can be enough.
Gaskin
like,
and Mike Davis, like, how are we that different? What we did, it wasn't.
no,
that
I'm not.
different.
I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying like the argument last week was like this type of construction isn't something we should ever do.
I don't think we said it was
There
something
were
we
3
should.
clear chalk running backs, and we said you shouldn't play all 3 of them.
There
in the
was
same
4
lineup, and I
last week.
stand by it.
There was 4 last week if we include Zeke. This week, I guess, yeah, there was probably 5 very good running back plays. Can we agree with that? Like 5-ish, if you include
And
Gaskin.
we played two of them.
Joe,
I'm not saying what we did was wrong. I'm more or less just saying that Peter is blowing Peter right now, the other Peter, for this roster, and it's the same one that I got shredded for essentially last
No,
week.
he's just.
No, I'm literally just congratulating him. I don't even
okay.
love that lineup.
Congrats, Pete.
You want me to take a shot? Hey,
we do love
CSU.
Pete. We do
Hang
love
on,
Pete.
I need to. Joe is upset with me. CSU, you fucking donkey. What is this shit you're rolling out in these high stakes contests? Are you happy, Joe?
I'm not even ripping on Pete. If anything, I'm just bitter that I played Mike Davis over Derrick Henry. Let's be honest.
Here, I want to make a point on this though. To me, it is you're when you have the 3 chalk running backs, you're having to thread the needle, right? You're having to get a game stack that has low owned pieces with monster upside, which he was able to get with Julio and Jefferson. And then you also need the punt tight end that you can throw in there to eliminate the number of things you have to get right. Like he was able to thread the needle on this one. I just feel like most weeks that's a tough needle to thread.
It's not exactly the same thing. I just want to get you going. Congrats, Pete.
You got us going.
Congrats, Pete.
Mission accomplished, Joe.
I hope this
I'm
holds
on
for him.
tilt.
It should, right? This should hold for him. Who's he fading right now?
He's got Dolphins D, so he could go back. Which at this point, I'm just cheering for Dolphins D.
Well,
And
the
for
guy directly
CSU.
behind him also has Gaskins, Dolphins D.
So I was actually at one point in time tied with him with like 5 minutes left in the games with Aaron Jones versus Gaskin, with 5 minutes left in the early games. But then the Derrick Henry explosion happened. He gets to 44.
2 other things. One, people in the chat keep asking about DeAndre Swift because I have been talking about DeAndre Swift on a lot of stuff. So when I got excited about him, I did play him in some of my smaller entry lineups, but I did not have him in any of my high stakes stuff. I got laughed out of the room, but I understood it. Part of my enthusiasm was with Adrian Peterson being questionable earlier in the week. Then he ended up being full go, all of that. But I hope you guys did get a sprinkle of DeAndre Swift because the thesis of the play at 4,500, it hit, Joe. Those plays can hit. Sometimes it's Antonio Gibson. Sometimes it's DeAndre Swift.
Joe, remind me, how many times did Peter bring up DeAndre Swift when we were building our lineups?
0. Are you kidding?
Dude, I'm not victory
laughed
lapping.
out of the room. Who laughed you out of the room? You didn't even give us the opportunity to laugh you out of the room.
I can pull the screenshots up of when I was talking about DeAndre Swift.
Oh my God! Every player on the slate was probably discussed yesterday.
You look. I can't. If I had him in my own spy lineups, I could victory lap it. But we all know there was no chance in hell that we were ever playing.
Probably
DeAndre
not,
Swift
but you did not bring him up.
You can't victory lap
up. That would never happen.
You can't victory lap a play that you never even brought up this morning. We're building our team.
I hope you guys paid attention and got a sprinkle of them in.
Yeah.
I know you haven't been listening to me on every show I did this week.
I have because I said it to you. I was like, "Hey, so DeAndre Swift." It was Dink's Cam Akers play from last week. It's the same play.
One other interesting thing that I think why stuff happens so fast today in a bad way with the chalk is not only when the chalk hits, but when it happens in a splash play, when Derrick Henry rips off a big run, Justin Jefferson or like the game speeds up immediately. And didn't we just see that Houston Tennessee game just go into overdrive so quickly on those big plays?
Yeah, because for a while there, even Houston scoring was a big deal because I think it was 21-3 or something at one point, and Brown looked like maybe he wouldn't get a lot more targets, and Henry had the bonus but no touchdowns. And you're like, okay, if Tennessee can slog this out, this is a massive win for us. And then Houston comes storming back, and then as soon as Houston takes the lead, Henry has the 94-yard run, and then it was over.
Pete, don't read the chat.
I always read the chat. I love these guys.
I gotta bring the chat up.
Some guy in the chat, Donnie, shout out Chase in the chat, was like, Pete did mention Swift on the line movement show this morning. Holka said, enjoy your 12 DK points. I might have said that. That sounds like something I'd say. Tough scene.
Don't apologize for
Tough
that.
scene.
But
I'm not apologizing.
I will say, and again, like just conceptually though, these punt RBs, so to speak, I took some flyers on Freeman today. They just because you're playing a punt wide receiver and running back is a little bit easier projectable. We see with Damiere Byrd and these guys, Chenault, like they have just as low of a floor as a DeAndre Swift or Antonio Gibson. Like there's not a ton of difference between that.
Ronald Jones
Rojo's
times
in again
2
for another touchdown.
Rojo, too good.
At least we didn't take the Packers in the super contest. Yeah, let's add to this tilt. So super contest, we're laughing our asses off at getting this Ravens at -7.5. Line moved to -9.5. Seems like it's in the bag. Eagles get a touchdown 2-point conversion. Even then, we're still 8 because we got the great closing line value. Then there was this absurd pass interference call. And yeah, so even the super contest went south for us.
Yeah, I thought we were set up so good because we had the Broncos at +10. We're 1-0. I'm thinking we get the Ravens. We go to 2-0. Then we get the Packers. We go to 3-0. We get the 49ers. We go to 4-0. We get the Cowboys. We go to 5-0. But now we're staring down the barrel at a 1-3 heading into Sunday Night Football.
So someone's asking about they played Madison in a lot of spots and our process for not playing him. Pretty much the same process as not playing Derrick Henry. We thought Mike Davis was the best. Our projections on ETR, I think, had Henry ahead of Madison by like 0.2. If I knew Madison was going to score 5 points and Henry was going to score 43, I would have projected that a little differently. That's a big thing. Like you don't, like all these things we can, like you don't know what's going to happen. If we knew what was going to happen, we play things a lot differently. And I think that's why it's really important for when you win big. And I think we're doing a good job of that. We had the 50K score because of the way we played, and we're just going to have to eat weeks like this.
And I am willing to feel like absolute shit right now for those weeks when we are solely atop the leaderboard. Because as Mike says, you cannot have those weeks without each other. Like I cannot win the SPY without also finishing third dead to last in the SPY. Like those are the cuts I'm taking. I want to be first or last. I do not care. I do not want to be Min Cash Pete. I do not want to be that guy.
Sounds like Blender from RG is in a good spot to win the slant. Play whoever you want. Good for him.
Yeah,
I saw that. I think he had a skinny stack with Matt Ryan to Julio and just Jefferson coming back. Just nailed all the right individual.
I would not have been able to skinny stack Ryan because I feel like the thesis behind Ryan is when he goes off, so many guys are going to go off. But I guess Hurst and Ridley both ended up like fine, but not great. So the skinny stack really did work out there.
Did you see the Hurst touchdown? Like the Vikings just stopped playing. Like that whole game was so tilting, man. I can't even handle it.
Dude, the Julio troll game. I got into Ryan double stack in the 7-7-7 solely so I gotta play some Julio. And Julio was that guy that we did get in on the Wildcat team.
Yeah.
I was already started
too.
I was starting to worry about how this set up. So like I said, what we played was the Lux box, 2 in the 777 and 1 in the Wildcat collectively. But Leone had one more bullet that he decided to fire individually in the 777, which is, of course, was the lineup that was crushing. So every time I went in to look at that live scoring, I was like, oh, the one lineup I don't have any piece of is the one that's crushing it. I was like, so help me God, if we go on this stream again to watch Leone victory lap a big sweat, I just shut it all down.
Yeah, we might have had to have some technical issues or something. There's no way we could have done that. Pete, you want to go over our picks in the super contest? I'm pretty sure the graphic was messed up that I did before this. So just shout out to just one more thing that went wrong today. Do you want to read those off?
Yeah, I can read these off here. I know them from heart. We took Denver plus 10, which, geniuses. We're just complete geniuses there. I can't imagine that was too popular of a pick. And then we took, as Mike mentioned, the Ravens minus 7.5. We got a ton of closing line value. I think it ended up at 10. Got, just absolutely hosed on that late pass interference call. And then we took the Packers as a pick 'em, which, Aaron Rodgers needs to stop throwing picks. And then we took the 49ers at +3 tonight and the Cowboys at +1 tomorrow night.
Joe King asks, Julio wasn't on the injury report and was low owned. Why didn't we go all in? Well, he didn't practice at least a couple of times this week, and we saw him leave that game early, and I don't know. I mean, he was a good play. I'll give you that. But I don't think it was one of those obvious in retrospect, like, oh, you should have jammed Julio. I don't know.
Like, I feel like if you, with that kind of information, like if you're thinking about it as a probability bet, like if you run out like his injury situation, his practice reports, this game environment, like 100 times, like this was a top 10% outcome for him on this. Like this isn't the normal outcome that happens after that. Julio week, but
also, the second touchdown, I don't know if you guys saw it, was a pretty fluky play. I mean, those things happen, but like Ryan was scrambling for a first down and then stopped right at the line of scrimmage, and the guy peeled off Julio, and he like short shovel passed to Julio, and then he broke it for a touchdown.
Man.
Let's talk about Cam. He was a guy, I played him in my big spy lineup as well, the skinny stack. I thought it made a lot of sense with Damiere Byrd. I'm not a box score watcher during the game. I don't like watching live scoring. That's why I love FanDuel so much. But I was sweating this Cam game, which was just absolutely brutal. I was watching the whole thing. I thought he had 8 points, and we go and look it up, and he did actually finish with 20. Leone, I know you were big on him this week. He ended up didn't killing you by himself, but what were your thoughts overall on Cam?
Yeah, I had Cam in the Thunderdome. I was one of 30 teams with him, and I'll take that all day. As you said, he was pretty terrible, and he had 20 DraftKings points. And if they could have got him one more touchdown, that could have flipped quickly. Difficult part with Cam is, depending on the game script they get, you can stack them, but sometimes you sure don't have to stack them, and it gets a little bit weird. I was really big on basically playing Packers Buck stacks, and then but without the quarterback, and then you can do a second mini stack. So Cam fit that a lot, where I could skinny stack him, and I think he was a good play. It didn't work out, but I think he was a really good play. His ownership was too low especially other quarterbacks on the slate. There weren't a lot of guys with dual threat ability. I think Cam was trying. I think this is segueing off Cam, but I think my biggest mistake of the week was I saw people were going to play a lot of Burden and Irv Smith, and I 100% am fine with fading Irv Smith. But I mean, Burden, we had him at ETR projecting so well. And also, I was like, well, not only am I not going to play these guys, but I'm going to try and go expensive at tight end to, foot the build, so to speak. And I just don't think the guys were there that were worth it to try and flip the build. And that really hurt me, where even if I didn't play Burden, if I would have played another cheap tight end and had more salary elsewhere, and done like naked Cam instead of Damiere Byrd. And I don't know. I felt like that was my biggest mistake, was maybe trying to get too much leverage out of tight end, seeing as how I had a lot of leverage elsewhere, especially at receiver already.
Pete, you know what my biggest mistake was, right? I said it right before the slate locked.
Derrick Henry over Mike Davis?
No. Right before the slate started. Remember that? I was like, you guys are starting to rub off on me a little bit. I was like, I feel like I'm on an island on some of these plays, but I also played some wide receivers in the flex this week for like the first time in 3 years. So my whole Allen Robinson at 4% here in the juke, this one didn't work out so hot. I guess he's still at 5 for 53, but how about the only reason I was looking at this team is did we ever strongly consider playing Watson on the other side of this Tennessee game, or not really? Because I ended up with Fuller Fells teams. I know Pete, you loved Fuller, so shout out to you for that one, because we did end up having like a share of Fuller on one of our teams, didn't we?
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
someone in the chat is talking about Fells too, and I'm kind of beating myself up about it because, and I don't want to speak for Leone, but I think part of the reason we didn't go all in on this game is it was really hard to stack with the Tennessee ownership complicating things. But I'm mad at myself for not getting on Fells after Akins was ruled out again, because I loved Fuller and I didn't love Cooks per se, but I love having an excuse to play a cheap tight end in a good spot that's going to be low owned. And to me, I'm like, why didn't I roll out Watson, Fuller, and Fells stacks? And then I could have brought it back with one of AJ Brown or Derrick Henry and justified the chalk in that bring back. And I didn't. I had one where I played the Cooks double stack, but I didn't get there with Fells.
It's on the screen, Pete. That's the one I was just talking about. So like I ended up making one team with Watson, Fuller, Fells, bring back with AJ Brown. It's like my only AJ Brown share, unfortunately, but it had Madison and Davis, so it was completely dead. But I like the idea of adding a cheaper tight end to those stacks if it's just going to take care of that position, which ended up working out. But 2% Darren Fells, I'll take that.
Yeah, we've seen it 2 weeks in a row. The triple stack working with the tight end being cheap, but I think, I said the tight end thing, I thought I blew. The second biggest thing was not playing a Watson double. Andrew Wiggins on our morning show for ETR, he pointed out that he was kind of thinking about a Watson double. I looked at our projections and we had Watson, Cooks, and Fuller, all three guys as plus values with not that high of projected ownership. So it's kind of one of those things where if you're just not thinking and you're looking at purely, okay, three guys with good projections for their prices and aren't owned, super easy stack. And then like maybe you throw in Fells, maybe you don't, whatever, and then and that's your excuse to play one of the chalk pieces from Tennessee. I think that was a leak. I probably should have played Houston, but I think I was too stubborn on fading the Tennessee chalk that got me off a Houston stack that made a lot of sense.
The chat's going wild. Twitter's going wild. Tua is taking his first snap for the Dolphins right now. Why can't we get Laird in the backfield? Come on, guys. It's a handoff.
Yeah, they're just running the clock out. Looks like Miami's got a really good shot at holding the shutout. The chalk D hits.
Yep.
Lamar.
And again, like the Gaskin thing, as far as like, Gaskin was solid, right? At his price and his production, but it goes again to show for the chalk to smash, you need those big plays, to speed up the game, because this has just been like a grinded out game for Miami. And you're still happy with Gaskin's production, but you didn't get the splash play, which makes me think too, like, should we be breaking ties for chalk in game environments that have a chance to really shoot out more, when I don't think anyone would ever said this Dolphins Jets game has a chance to pace up?
Yeah. I mean, the big thing too, Miami threw 3 short touchdown passes. So, Gaskin very easily could have gotten there. I do think if you're, trying to say, could I have picked Mike Davis versus Derrick Henry, right? That you could have said, who has the biggest ceiling here? That's probably Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I just really got sucked into the pass catching role of Mike Davis that I didn't play it, but I think you could make an argument that, both guys are chalk, even though Davis projects better, they project close. Who's the higher ceiling play? And it's probably Derrick Henry.
Man, if there was like, who's your one guy that you think is like single-handedly like the CSU Ram Amari Cooper? Like, does anyone have that one guy? I think Derrick Henry might be that guy for me. I'm not kidding. Like, it feels like that over the last 2 years.
What do you mean?
Just like the one guy that you either fade or don't, like, you do play, does nothing, or you spade him when he just has these like 90-yard absurd runs. Like, I feel like I'm always on the wrong side of it.
I feel like I've had it kind of both ways with Henry, so I can't complain. Julio might be it for me. I had him today, but the lineup's not going to cash. Julio feels like the guy that I just don't ever seem to quite get right. Julio and like that Atlanta passing game in general, I feel like hasn't paid dividends for me that it could have.
Yeah.
Ryan Osborne says, so you shouldn't stack against the Jets because of games like this. Dude, I'm just tilting. Just let me talk through it, okay? Nothing I say here is updating the DFS manifesto for what is proper game theory. I'm drunk on Crown Royale right now and trying to kill my ass off.
Gaskin and Dolphins D stack is literally winning tournaments, so that is not what Peter is saying.
Wait, Tua completes the second down to Patrick Laird. Let's go.
Oh, Tua to Laird, the future is bright.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna kind of steal that for a tweet.
So, yeah, it's just one of those days for us. I think again, we learned from our mistakes. I don't think we had huge mistakes, but I do think maybe we could have broke Henry Davis tie via ceiling. Maybe tight end we could have treated a little bit differently. Overall, though, I honestly felt like we played it okay. I'm not gonna say we played it great, but I think we were fine.
You want to talk about your Danny Dimes stack? We're feeling pretty good about that at one point.
Oh my God, dude, I was on cloud nine. So I was really because I'm playing this Packers Bucks game heavy. One way to do that and get the smash plays from that game, Danny Dimes skinny stack with Darius Slade and bring it back with Logan Thomas. Probably one of my favorite cheap tight end plays. And I wish when I went contrarian, I played more Logan Thomas and I didn't try to get super cute with mega leverage TJ Hawkinson and Zach Ertz. But I don't think any of those guys scored in the second. I don't know what happened in the second half of that game. Dimes, I honestly don't know if he scored a full DraftKings point in the second half of that game. It started out gloriously. That first half, nobody was scoring anywhere. So it really looked good, like relatively speaking, on top of the fact that they were doing good individually.
Yeah, a lot of snowflakes on this one.
That was a sick call, though. I love that call because, well, one, it was super cheap. It had a high ceiling and part of the reason you like Daniel Jones is because he can bust off a run like that where he goes for 54 yards. He has a talented wide receiver in Slayton who got banged up later in the game. That was a bummer. I don't think he ended up playing much in the second half, but we were able to get in a ton of the other plays we liked. And again, it's a mix and match thing. If we have some of our other plays in there, a Jefferson, a Fuller, like that lineup can still really cook. So I love that you forced us to get, Joe and I weren't considering Daniel Dimes. So I love that you got us on that. Just again, forgetting, because I think there's so much value in unique constructions where it just gives you so many different ways to win than when you're having to do 1v, like, again, no offense, Joe, but like you were having to win a 1v1 versus CSU. Mm-hmm. And that's fucking hard to win those 1v1s.
I'm with you. Leone, I think one more thing on just that lineup overall, like one thing that I thought was sharp that you did is I wanted to play McLaurin on this stack for the record. I wanted to play Danny Dimes and Slayton, bring it back with McLaurin. But you're like, there's these guys that are right around the same price in Burton and even a little bit like further down, obviously, in Irv Smith that are at least going to draw some ownership. Let's try and get a little bit different with our cheaper tight end. Obviously, Burton ended up being the play, but Logan Thomas at 1.7% still got a touchdown. I mean, I think that makes sense. Again, I think we've said this a lot, but it makes sense to take care of the tight end position if it's just going to give you a little bit more correlation in that stack. So I thought that was sharp.
Two things. One of our leaks might be though that we're taking the chalk punt D all the time, and we know D scoring is volatile, but we also know the higher scoring defenses, even though it's volatile, are more likely to score. Maybe we should get off the chalk punt D. I know chalk Dolphins D in the mid-tier hit this week, but a lot of times we're sliding in that 2300 D and filling out, and that might be a little bit of a leak in our game. The second thing I just want to tilt a little bit more on chalk hitting is we had Chase Claypool and Trey Burton rushing TDs this week. And we also had Trey Burton score a receiving TD after a suspect call brought back a T.Y. Hilton TD. So just add that to the tilt fuel.
We almost had a Randall Cobb passing touchdown to Fuller at one point too. That would have been just the icing on the cake for my Watson teams that were at least reasonable at that point. Good God.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sick. I'm sick to my stomach. It was a rough day. It was a very rough day. Yeah, professional asshole. Great handle, by the way. Asked me to finish my Crown Royale. I can't even talk. Crown Royale. We will do it.
Do you guys have thoughts on? 2 weeks in a row we've played a little bit aggressively off the big win. what are we doing moving forward?
So we started the day at our bankroll was like 62K. So now we're down to what, like 57-ish?
I think we started 2 weeks. Oh no, you're right. We started, so we're down to like 57K. So it's not like we're
With 10
doing bad. That's
yeah, with
still,
15K
we're still
in.
almost,
Yeah.
yeah, we're up 47K.
Yeah.
So I would like my preference would I like having 4 lineups. Like that felt right. Like we literally built an extra because we wanted a 4th lineup. I mean, I would continue to like to have a shot at $200,000 in a realistic way via the luxury box. And I would also not mind max entering the juke. We all seem to like that tournament. That gives us 4 lineups at a price point that doesn't extend our bankroll in kind of a reckless way. That's kind of where I think I would settle right now.
I'm torn between taking the shot at 200K and having the 3 in the juke versus playing the
Yeah.
1500, which is a shot at 50K, not 200K, but a little bit smaller field, and having 3 in the 777, which is a better chance of winning on those secondary teams and having it mean something. So I think I could do either, but I think that's roughly the same outlay total that we're thinking about.
What'd you say the top prize is for the 777?
It's 20K. So I think it's the same as the juke, but the field size, at least this
Right.
week, they expanded the juke. So the field size is in half for the 777.
And look, this is just this is me, and I know this is dumb, but we do this show and we live sweat, and like even in the Thunderdome, which again was the most money I've ever had on the line playing DFS. I'm just like, okay, yeah, if we win 40,000, like, and I know that that's a shit ton of money and that's a great ROI, but for the show and for the sweat, like I want to say the tilt space is going for 200,000 or 100,000. So I would rather take on a little bit of an extra a field size for the chance at bigger money is just kind of where I'm at.
I think that's fair. I will say too, we do play a little bit contrarian. So taking a shot at the bigger prizes makes sense. And if we're playing pretty contrarian, having the juke, the field size being double and the same grand prize, maybe that doesn't affect us as much as I'm thinking in my head. You know, if we want to play contrarian and we're going to win these weeks when the chalk fails, then yeah, I could see that where it's kind of like the Joe thing's talking about the disparity in a 3K entry versus a 400 entry is getting my head a little bit. But I think zoomed out based on what you said, based on how we play, yeah, I can jive with that.
Do you think that tournament though is getting a little bit too big, or is it always like like it was almost 400 people this week? I think like the
It
sweet
used
spot
to be
is
200.
yeah, like us like 250 is like the sweet spot for I think the way we're building according to Leone. So I'm just gonna roll with that.
I like the sweet spot at 250, but but we are playing, I think, contrarian enough where as long as we're not getting into 500 plus man fields, I think it was 350. If the juke gets up to 500 plus man field, maybe we reconsider. But I think at like 350, we're okay. I'm watching Rogers just get smoked.
And I think that is the point. The way we're building, like we are building for first, I would say, in up to like a 500 person tournament too, with how we're building. So that doesn't scare me too much. If we got above 500, I think then you start to get into a different territory. I did want to circle back because I was like thinking about Laird and zoning out as we were talking about defense. That is by far my biggest leak in my DFS game right now is defense, because I'm literally just building and then putting in whatever fits, which I guess what I'm wrestling with is this idea of that's how a lot of people say you should build because there's so much variability with defensive scoring. So I guess I'm trying to figure out how do I put more effort and time into that without sacrificing other more important parts of my lineup.
Well, I wonder if a lot of times when we're building, we're like, okay, put in a D to see what we have left, right? Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should build with the players that we like and see how much money we have left for D. Because then you almost randomly play a D. Like I played Bucks D on a team this week and they're smashing and they got to be super low owned. And the thesis of the play was I have enough money left to play the Bucks D.
Right.
Did you play them with Rojo or by themselves?
I think I played them by themselves because it wasn't, an intentional stack. I definitely didn't play them with Rojo because my Rojo teams were bringing Green Bay back where I was stacking the game. So it was it was no Packers, no Bucks, the team I played him on.
And what do you think, Joe?
I think I agree that pigeonholing ourselves, literally as we're building, we're like, okay, what's the cheapest D that we would consider playing? We just plug them in and then we figure out what fits from there and some of our one-offs. But I still think it's a little bit slate specific in some ways. Like there's some slates where it's so tight that you can't even imagine trying to pay up at defense to be contrarian, even if there's like this slam dunk spot. So while I agree with you, we probably shouldn't just settle for the cheapest D. There's definitely some spots where I think there's certain slates where it makes more sense, I think, just to be contrarian by paying up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and sometimes not even paying up. I mean, if you played, I don't know, Bucks D over Dolphins D this week, Dolphins D holds a shutout, but if they have anything but a shutout, Bucks D, outscores them by quite a bit. They almost had 2 defensive touchdowns, and that's a cherry picked example, of course, and it's a position where we know we can't predict that well. But at the same time, the more expensive Ds score more. We know that too. So I just think we should be aware of that. There's going to be times where we have to take the cheap chalk D because it fits, but let's not, as Joe said, let's not pigeonhole ourselves into that by just slotting them in to see what fits around.
So then the next question, and here we are. We're tilting when we're talking defensive strategy on a Sunday evening. But so is the thing, because that's definitely been the leak too, is, I have the Roto Grinders Chrome extension that shows the ownership percentage, and I haven't even been looking as much at defensive ownership projections. Like, so would you say a good process would be like, we look for like ceiling type projections relative to ownership in a non-cost prohibitive way and try to narrow down a short list that we think are going to be less than 10% owned? I'm just trying to figure out how to actually make a system for this, as opposed to, because I will fall back into my bad habits if I don't think this through.
I don't know if it's a system as much as it is like let's build the team and then worry about the D. Let's see how much money we have left for the defense, because just by if we think of it that way, we might end up with $3K left for a D instead of 2,300, and then at that point, let's not circle back and be like, well, we can upgrade this running back for this running back. Let's just eat the 3K defense and play someone different.
Well, we are going to try and get Pete Jennings on here. We'll see if that works out.
The best part is I see right through it, just like 20 Rick says. So yeah, we're going to get Pete Jennings on. Pete says, hey, can I come on to talk Showdown? He goes, does he really want to discuss Showdown or talk about his GOAT lineup? Because both is cool. No, Pete is coming on here to talk about his lineup, and we're going to allow it. Oh my God, Pete, I can't believe you tried to hide behind talking Showdown.
Oh God. Wow. We're going to do this one on the fly. Pete's going to come gloat that he played Derrick Henry over Mike Davis. I get it. Man. Hey, like the first thing I did was give you all the credit, Pete. Literally. I was like, all right, I'm wrong. Pete's right. He's going to win 200K. I'm just going to mint cash. It's just great times.
Pete's going to be on his phone. There's going to be this beautiful, orange and bluish hued Denver sunset in the background from his penthouse apartment, talking about his big wins. Bring him on to the tilt space.
We're going to have to throw up like a be right back screen to make this thing work, but I think it might be worth it. Build an overlay on the fly here.
Yeah.
What else, guys? What else did we, how's everyone's spy team? Mine's still not good, so I'll let you guys go first.
My spy team is very similar to the team that we ran in the luxury box, and it did not go well.
My spy team is very similar to what I played in the Thunderdome, which is like a purely middle of the pack team. I'm at 132.
Joe?
With a 0 from Chalk Vikings defense.
Yeah, I'll just throw it up. I've got Rodgers. I went basically full Green Bay, Tampa Bay stack. I went Rodgers, MVS, Tanyan, brought it back with Mooney. Did have Adams in that one as well. Went with Ronald Jones and Mike Davis. This is another wide receiver in the flex team. What is happening to me? This is just
wide receiver. I mean, the wide receiver ceilings this week, though, was better than playing like Chalk Montgomery.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
I mean, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, Julio Jones, they all...
Hey, Leone, did you hear what Pat's sweating right now?
No.
He's in first place of the Engage 8, the $8 3 max on DK right now for $10K.
with Rojo.
Wow.
No
Tell me
Rojo
he's-
somehow. It's a Deshaun Watson. So this is my buddy Pat Crane. I do shift chasing with. He had a Deshaun Watson double stack to Fuller and Cooks. He brought it back with Henry. Then he had Jefferson as a one-off with Julio Jones correlated. Trey Burton, Gaskin. Yes, holding on
That's
to first
a
right now.
fantastic lineup. Why
Yeah.
didn't we do that? I'm kicking myself on the Watson one because it checked the boxes, and I was more or less stubborn on. I was just stubborn on the Tennessee side, so I was like, well, I'm not going to play the Houston chalk or the Houston stack if I don't want to bring it back with Tennessee chalk.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Now that's a great, like, Pat, that's an $8 3 max contest. $24 in. Pat's holding for 10K right now.
That's
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
Does he know what he's fading? I mean, he's got to be.
He's in really good shape. He's fading 16 points from Aaron Jones right now.
I don't think he's
next
playing. I think they pulled the starters.
I think he has it.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to jinx someone, but
No, yeah, I know.
it looks good.
I think he's in good shape here.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Hell yeah. Yep, Pat from Ship Chasing, he does the podcast with Leone, Establish the Edge. Very sharp dude. And yeah, shockingly, the biggest Rojo truther on the planet. Rojo's going off today, and Rojo isn't even going to be part of his big win.
Does it count?
It doesn't actually. There's an asterisk.
Yeah, you actually have to give back a portion of that money for not playing Rojo in the lineup.
Hell yeah. Nice work, Pat.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Sorry if I got a little quiet. We're trying to set up Pete here and actually still keep tilting, so we'll see. I think we're pretty close.
Yeah,
I
we
think
gotta
Pete's
call
almost
him
ready.
out on this. Oh, I want to talk Showdown.
I wanted Doug Showdown was the biggest piece of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. I am going to turn the screws to Pete on Showdown. I'm going to ask him his favorite captain plays, his favorite leverage plays, who he think the chalk is going to be. If this guy doesn't have Showdown cakes, he gets booted out of here.
So good. So good. We could just bring him on audio too. We could do that.
I mean, can't he just do it on his phone? Discord? Like, does it have to be?
Well, he has to be in
Fancy
Discord for
schmancy?
people to be able to hear.
I want to let everyone know in the Baby Spy, 2,220 people, I have dropped to 2,220th. I'm 2 out from last place. My team has 59.94 points. 0 points from the Vikings, 1.3 from Cameron Brate, 2.6 from Juju Smith-Schuster, 6.7 from Devonta Freeman, 7.7 from Kareem Hunt, 4.10 from Laviska Shenault. How do I do it? How do I do it?
Oh.
How does he do it?
This is weird that we just like don't have
Why don't
one
we-
sweat. Literally one sweat. So we have to bring.
Especially because the major thesis of all our lineups was, except for the final lineup that we threw in the Wildcat, was let's stack Green Bay, Tampa Bay somehow.
Mhm.
And I think the ownerships came in great for right. I mean, Aaron Jones was pretty low, right? What did the ownerships come in on this game?
Let's check it. Let's check it. So let's see. We ended up getting Adams was at 28%, Tanyan at 3.3%. Tanyan was a sick play at 3.3%. I'll say that. Godwin at 18.7%. I don't know how to find these other percentages. I gave up after just looking at our lineup. Oh yeah, guys, Galaxy Brain Pete is back. Except he didn't put in the one good Galaxy Brain play, DeAndre Swift, that everyone keeps congratulating me for.
Sorry, I'm like fixing something on our Showdown projections real quick.
That's why you started to pixelate. Leone starts running all these simulations in the background and his quality goes to shit. It's the best.
I'm not doing shit, dude. All right. It must be
Leone,
these,
so we use Discord for recording this, and we've been having a little bit of technical difficulties with Leone's footage, and we find out today he's been using the web browser version of Discord
Not
this
the
whole
app.
time instead of the app, and now he's perfect. It's like, welcome.
Literally every problem. He was like delayed. We couldn't figure out why his audio was delayed. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, what Chris just said in the chat, Chris Hinshaw says, so tilting when my cash lineups outscore my GPP lineups. That's what kind of day it was. The cash lineups are lapping the GPP lineups.
DeAndre Swift. Everyone is just all over this DeAndre Swift play, man. I'm so glad you told us about him this morning, Pete.
I am not trying to take credit for the DeAndre Swift play. I did not play it.
Yeah, check the tape on that one.
I touted it.
So you're saying you're touting plays you're not playing? Now you're digging yourself deeper and deeper, Pete. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. You're on YouTube now, man. People are not okay with that. They will let you know.
Come at me. I do not give a fuck. This is what happens when I polish off a quarter of crown.
Where's CSU Rams?
I don't know. I'm waiting for Jordan to get
Guy
back.
can win a GPP, but he can't get on a stream.
We'll probably just do audio because it's easier. But
Guy's
I can't.
probably trying to load it in his browser. That's probably what's happening.
Yeah.
Goodness.
What a noob. Browser. How do you feel with all these DeAndre Swift great calls? Like, do you feel good or do you feel a little like, yeah?
You know what? Do you want to know why I feel good, Leone? Because I have ammo in our belt next time we want to convince Joe to play a really thin $4,500 running back.
No, Joe's going to be Antonio. Every week Antonio Gibson doesn't do good, Joe's going to say something.
All right. Here, we're going to do this, guys. We're going to throw up our intro and we're going to try, or we'll get to do stream starting soon. We're going to get Pete on here. So everyone that's here, don't panic. I promise we will be right back.
When you come back, 2 Pete's.
I really thought you had a better closing on that. All right, we'll be back. We're back. We got Peter Jennings with us. What's up, Pete? You're sweating, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm sweating co-crack here, and contrary to what Peter says, when you're doing well, you got to find the nuts. You got to keep the heater going. So I got Kittle at captain right now.
It gets right into
I'm
it.
really debating. I'm debating Reynolds, Van Jefferson. I think Cam Akers, Leone. I needed Darrell Henderson really badly 2 weeks ago. And then, of course, the flop lag hit with Darrell Henderson. But now I'm trying to, get to the next level. Is this Cam Akers
This is
flop
the
lag?
best bit I've ever seen, Pete.
It's true. I
Such a
got
good
to get
bit.
the nuts here. I got to get
I like Akers. It's kind of Dink liked him in GPP last week. Now you get him on a Showdown
He's
slate.
2K on DraftKings.
Yeah, and
Chalky, though.
they said they want to get him more involved. You want to be early on him, so I think Akers definitely. Van Jefferson versus Reynolds is tough because
Well, Reynolds
seems like
might be on our own, right? Because he's cheaper. Versus McKinnon, too. I could play Reynolds or McKinnon or leave a bunch of money.
I would play Reynolds over McKinnon.
Yeah,
I think.
Most Derrick should play a lot more.
Let's talk
But-
about your chalky ass lineup that you won 200K with, Pete. You chalk donkey. Talk us through the process. How do you get on the nuts?
I'm telling you, boys, I'm going to lose a lot of 3-mans to Empire Maker here and an outright of co-crack.
Oh.
Xander here on 18.
Pete, we know you too well. You try to sandbag the big win. You're having a good day. Have a drink, Pete. Enjoy this with us.
I'm gonna hit. I'm trying to. I got sparkling water. I'm trying to find the nuts here for Showdown.
Pete, you look good. You look like you've lost weight. You look in shape. You look flush. You look trim. What are you doing out there, man?
I'm hooping, bro. I'm back on the hoops grind.
Yeah.
So,
How's the Achilles? I know it's been like a little bit removed since you hurt that, right?
yeah, like a little over 4 years. It's good. I mean, it's not the same, obviously, but I feel pretty good. Feel bad for freaking OJ Howard. There's been a bunch of just horrible injuries this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys had the same team. I can't believe that. I guess the triple stack, you guys are trying to, recreate what happened last week.
I may have exaggerated. It was just one of my teams that I had, and I think it was the Juke. So literally the same exact team, except for I had Davis instead of Henry. So shout out to us. I know that there was one point where Peter and I were both dead last in the SPY with our single entry teams, but outside of that, hasn't been a great day for the Tilt Space boys. But
Yeah. So we're glad you're on here to prop us up a little bit. We get some taste of success.
yeah,
We can absorb that via osmosis. So
You guys have been nothing but success. You guys are in the heater of a lifetime.
we were due.
Yeah, well, we're getting greedy.
You're talking
We're
trash.
like you.
Greatest thing.
We're
like
play-
you. We're greedy.
then
People like it when we tilt. They like it when I'm feisty. They like it when I'm banging Pete Jennings for his chalky ass winning lineup.
Yeah, no, not a single player under 10%. That's not how you draw it up.
we got.
Here,
Let's
let's
playing too sharp. I thought Julio and Jefferson was probably my favorite tournament play of the day. I played him a bunch, but
Here, let's tilt Joe really hard. Did you consider Mike Davis over Derrick Henry at all?
Not in that lineup because I had a lot of AJ Brown, Tannehill cash game stuff, and I just thought Henry was kind of a nice pivot off those guys, and I thought Madison and Mike Davis were pretty decent tournament phase. Mike Davis a little less so, but
Too sharp, man. I just hit that lock button. I got talked into the lock button on him in the small amount of lineups I made.
I mean, Henry has to freaking go bonkers we've seen it.
But he can.
Derrick Henry is my Amari Cooper, man. I'm always on the wrong side of those 90-yard runs, literally every time.
Nothing worse. So tilting.
Yeah.
Pete, do you build some of your GPP lineups as like direct hedges off of your big cash positions?
No, but I feel like over the last 2 years, I've gotten better at kind of just figuring out the leverage. And I've really enjoyed what Mike and Drew are doing with Establish the Million. And bummer Aaron Jones was so chalky that 1 week. I guess that was like the most obvious GPP play ever. But yeah, you just find like really good plays that are leveraged in like similar spots or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's what Chipotle and those guys have done for so long that they've done really well. And the bad part, I guess, is that people are getting so sharp with it now. I don't know. Like Julio, I guess he was cheap, but like these pivots are starting to get pretty heavily owned.
I know the game gets a little meta. I thought Julio for sure would be, a 5%er type.
Jefferson
I
is
didn't think he'd
super
be.
chalk.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, but when Peter's talking about leverage, so we know Thielen and Madison are going to be mega chalk. So
Yeah.
Jefferson's awesome leverage off that. Julio correlates that super well. And then when he's saying, yes, Derrick Henry was going to be owned, but we also knew Tannehill and AJ Brown were guys that projection system loved and were going to be owned, especially AJ Brown. So
I have them in cash. Did you guys play Tannehill, or who'd you play? Or you guys probably already been playing cash games right now, right?
imagine playing cash.
No, we played the
I
Thunder.
can't-
We played the Thunderdome last week, Pete, and we played Dak, and he snapped his ankle.
My cash game team is just it didn't do horrible. But Mike Davis, Madison, and Vikings D. But Galladay, Thielen, AJ Brown, those guys were all like just mega chalk.
The Houston
Basically,
guys. The Houston guys were like unowned though on the other side, and some of the higher stakes stuff. They're all like sub 10%. Like Watson, Fuller, Cooks, like all those guys are under 10%.
I have a really good Watson team on FanDuel with Cooks and Fuller with AJ Brown, but I'm not sure how I'm doing.
It is hard to know. Yeah. I had a team. I had a Lamar team over there, and I was checking it, and it's I've been adding it up. I did order an abacus on Amazon, and I do my own manual scoring on FanDuel, and it's actually very enriching. People talk about kind of hobbies where you get kind of tactile things, like if you want to be a cobbler, ceramics. People like using their hands. Tabulating your own scores is a very enriching experience, Pete.
Sounds fun.
Well, what was your experience there last week, Pete? You're just sitting there, just like your normal volume, just have no idea until Wednesday if you actually made money or not. Or did you have a pretty good idea of what happened?
Tough situation. I mean, it just goes back. We've seen all this stuff so often throughout the history of DFS, but it's pretty unfortunate that there wasn't a backup plan in place. Stats. I mean,
did you get your $100 rebate that they offered you?
$100 rebate.
Are there tickets that they offered you for this week? What was it?
Peter got more than that. I think
I would hope so. I would hope so.
It's hard to complain if you won, right?
That's fair.
FanDuel flew a private jet out to Denver to take Pete out to lunch just to kind of smooth things over after everything that happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. I wonder what Empire is going to do. I mean, there's some crazy spots. Are you guys playing more on FanDuel or DraftKings in general?
I'm playing way more on DraftKings. I like the scoring system better. I like the pricing better. I like the tournament structures better. So,
boys,
Kokrak
just hit it to like 15 feet.
I saw he had a monster drive. You said you were tilting softly, but my play-by-play is probably super behind because I'm just looking at shot tracker.
He just, barring a disastrous sequence of putting, or I guess Xander could chip in or something.
Was that his second?
Yeah, that's a sick. That Shadow Creek where Tiger Jam is. That course, that's an unbelievable finishing stretch. Really cool.
I saw he had a 342 drive on the par 5. So you got to tell me what courses do I have to play? I've got into
that course right there is the best course to play.
Really?
Right up there, yeah. Tiger has his event every year, and it's like probably the golf course that the most gambling's happened at, and it's fucking awesome. It's like Augusta. It's so nice.
Mike, if you ever get a chance to play with Tiger and Condoleezza Rice, you should do it. It's a great time.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me. I shoot like a 110. I am very, very bad. I need some help.
How fun is golf? Are you enjoying it, Mike?
I love it so. I was telling Peter, especially during COVID, I have a group of friends. We go every Friday, and it's my saving grace. I get 4 hours away from technology. I absolutely love. I just wish I was better at it.
Yeah. All right, boys. I truly need your help here because I'm not a screenshot guy. I actually tweeted out that I only do 7-figure screenshots, but I feel left out. I haven't done screenshot life.
You inspired a bit for me, which is I have that in my head from you saying that. And so now my thing is I only tweet out 6-figure screenshots, which is why I only want to play the luxury box and why the Thunderdome doesn't make it move for me because I need that 6-figure screenshot. Anyways, Pete, you want us to punch up a tweet for you?
Yeah. What should I tweet?
Pete,
I got the screenshot.
This is your area, Pete. This is definitely not mine. This is not mine.
So tell me this.
Twitter.
So you're gonna do a screenshot of the $200,000 win?
Yeah. So I invested. I actually had a good day. Well, outside, I won like all the afternoon money. I'm in for $40K, and I returned $336.
Mm-hmm.
Does that count golf? Is that everything?
Oh, it doesn't count golf. I'm just doing NFL. Golf is break even. I don't want to include that in the break.
Okay, this is what I would do.
Should I include golf?
Before
Golf
you
is
tell
like
him,
golf is
Pete,
not.
I have the tweet, Pete. I have the tweet.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you do the screenshot, and can you make sure it shows that there was the 40,000 in?
Yeah.
And then just do the tweet and just say, can someone Photoshop out how much I entered? And then
That's what
just
I should do?
post that tweet.
That's what I should do.
It'll crush.
Okay.
I just trust him. He's always right with this stuff.
Can
I was
someone
gonna say,
tell me how to Photoshop? Give me verbatim.
So good.
Yeah. You're like, or how do I do that setting where the amount entered isn't shown?
How do I remove
the
amount entered?
Yeah. I got to ask the Run Pure guys how to do that.
Oh boy.
oh my god.
Should I tag DraftKings? How do I remove amount entered on at DraftKings? Is that a good tweet?
Yeah.
I like it.
I was gonna say we should think about what Draft Cheat would tweet pretending to be Peter.
He would be like, always nice when Amari Cooper isn't on the slate.
That's what I would tweet.
I know. This is what happens.
Is this the best tweet I can do here? I haven't tweeted about a
You
screenshot.
second guessing it.
Well, here's the
Yeah,
thing.
he
You
wants
asked me
something really good.
what I would tweet, and then I just told you what you would normally tweet. So
Well, yeah, I can tell I can come up with that. I mean, give me something good here.
the people in the chat like the tweet.
How do I remove amount entered on at DraftKings?
Yeah.
I think Run Pure Sports knows.
Oh man.
It's out there.
It's out there. Good for you, man. That's awesome though.
Oh, you.
Pete, have you played the super contest last couple years?
Played three lineups in most of your GPPs. So you played this same team like everywhere that just absolutely smashed.
Yeah,
awesome.
I played it in basically everything. Not the Thunderdome. I played it in the Wildcat, got ninth. Power sweep, play action, juke, goal line, nickel, whatever. Entered a bunch of stuff.
Pete, have you played the super?
How good? I know. Sorry, Holka. I know
You're good.
you said you're on the opposite end of these Derrick Henry runs, but how great is it when you're sweating Derrick Henry and you just see him manhandling children out there trying to tackle him?
Oh, it's great, dude. That's how actually he was a big guy for me in like the original best ball stuff a couple years ago on draft, which was awesome. I've been mostly right on Derrick Henry, which is shocking because he's not like my normal go-to. I don't know. He doesn't fit like the prototype of what I would play, but yeah, I've somehow been lucky with Derrick Henry.
Do you know that you and Ashley both did screenshots within 1 minute of each other? She just tweeted out a nice $5 win in the play action.
Come on.
Did Ashley win some money?
You're shouting Kokrak. Your wife turned $3 into $5 in the play action, and you're shouting about Kokrak?
Kokrak Oh, bit. No, Ashley is killing it.
Look at that.
Hey.
Oh man.
Better than me this week, that's for sure.
Pete, I got real deep into some NHL Showdown DFS during the playoffs. That was because it was the only way my girl would watch hockey with me. So we started playing it, and we each play a team, and we just play like, I don't know, like not super high stakes or anything like that. And then I'd give her like a percent of if we won. She literally built the nuts 2 straight slates, and I lost every cent. And then she's like, "So do I like get all of this?" These guys are ripping me. So I'm like, "Oh well, after taxes, probably gonna have to give you a little bit lower." But yeah, wasn't great. But she basically paid for me to play NHL DFS for playoffs.
You were telling about that.
Ashley had to start basically doing all the best ball drafts to get away from. Although this year I didn't do nearly as much, but last year was a big problem, as Overzet knows.
Well, if you want to know how, so my wife is in just like a work fantasy football league, and we're building our tilt space lineups right before lock. I'm going through all my season long high stakes teams, and I make sure that she says, will you go check my lineup in my work league? And God help me if I don't go check that lineup before lock. I will prioritize it over other things, because she'll get mad at me. Why didn't you start Chase Claypool? I'm like, honey, we're just gonna do another wait and see week. You have Fuller, AJ Brown, and who God else knows.
Dude,
but,
your voice just quivered. Like, you must be terrified of her.
Leone, we know where the DeAndre Swift take came from, though. He was busy setting his wife's lineup for season long. That's why the DeAndre Swift take came through the cracks, man.
Do you know how awkward the Mark Andrews dud weeks are around here when I have to explain to her the volume? Do you think she gets excited about his targets per route run, Mike?
I mean, you got to read in the buy low model for sure.
Oh, baby.
Let's go.
Now we're fading an albatross here.
What was his? You have a outright. What were his odds?
Yeah, I have an outright on him, and I played him in cash on both sides, so it's solid.
What was his odds on the outright?
Oh, I bet him yesterday. So I bet golf basically between every round. But I have a sizable one. I got 1,000 last night for $2,000.
Yeah,
so.
you work. So do you feel like you've got a pretty big edge with the live golf betting?
Yeah, especially with line shopping. I think that's the big advantage. It's been great being here in Colorado. We have so many different books and the best legislation here, so you can shop around. And like Kokrak was 10-1 at one book, but he was like 6-1 to others. So yeah, I think basically just shopping around for price and a decent model you can do. We have 34 minutes for this showdown slate, boys.
Okay.
Teddy, like you care about this showdown slate.
Man, Cody does our ownership projections at ETR, and he's got Van Jefferson at like 4%, and I feel like that's a really good play if he's really going to be only 4% owned.
Earlier today, when I was dead, and I hypothetically, if I were to use an optimizer to run stuff on the slate, and I was hypothetically using Leone's projections, I did find that Cam Akers was projecting fairly well relative to consensus, and he might have ended up in 30% of my lineups if hypothetically I used an optimizer, but I don't, and I hand build, and I won't have any Akers because what a dumb flag plant that was last week.
Oh my God.
You can't call the Akers flag plant dumb when you just did it with Swift. No, I know. I'm just saying it was this. I'm more pissed that you didn't flag plant Swift. You should have been more forceful. Think of how rich we would be right now.
We probably would have been. We still would have gotten buried.
We would be so.
We
would be so tilted.
Do you guys track all your entries like as a group?
Yeah, we started with the 15K bankroll, and then we ran it all the way up to 67, played the Thunderdome, Dak snaps his ankle, then we basically bricked everything today. So what are we at now, Leone? We're still doing it. Yeah. And then we're in the 5K.
Yeah. I'm in this like super high stakes season long league, and you get extra points for long touchdowns. And so like, and quarterbacks get the same, like, basically they score more points for touchdowns. So the first pick was Mahomes. Second pick was Lamar. We took McCaffrey with the third pick, and then we got Dak on the way back, and we were smashed. Wow. Like literally like the nut team in the league. And now we're throwing out guys. I mean, it's a travesty. Started Fitzpatrick.
My FFPC main events both are Dak double stacks with Saquon out of the 2-hole. Oh, it's so
both of
dirty.
them. Oh, jeez,
yeah,
that's sick.
And I'm like first and second in both of them too. So it's like the teams are good, but you're so discouraged to lose those guys.
Hey Pete, early returns on the engagement on this tweet are pretty solid. What percentage would you attribute it to the copywriter, and what percentage would you attribute it to the big score?
You deserve all the credit, dude. Thanks. I mean, I would have tweeted something about Amari Cooper.
So good.
Someone actually texted me that they liked the tweet, so good job.
There you go. Here, fun fact.
How much for you to take over my Twitter account? And how much should I just have Ashley take it over? Or is it too obvious?
Well, actually, I was just going to say, you do not need me when you have Ashley. I would love to see Ashley have the reins of your Twitter account.
Oh, she'd kill me.
How are the Super Contest gold picks today, boys? We're in that too, Pete. We're tied for 11th. We get this though. We enter this tournament. We didn't even realize. So the $1,500 one, there's like 1,000 people in it. This one has like 100. It's a 5K entry. We get it. We figured there's this nice payout structure. Literally a winner take all. So 5K entry, winner take all for the season. But we're tied for 11th, so we got to sweat at least. But I don't know how today's going. Not anymore. Okay, way to shoot down.
Dude, we took a rough beat on the the Ravens game earlier. We had the Ravens minus 7.5. That was a tough beat.
Yeah, that was gross. What do we think the chalk picks were today in that?
When do they post it? Don't they post it right after lock or no? Or is it like the next day? I haven't even looked at it.
I'll have to let me look it up. You guys talk about something.
Man, so we got a hoop, man. I've been ripping the push-ups a little bit too.
I want to hoop with you guys. I can hoop a little bit.
We need a golf hoop trip.
I'm in for that.
Yeah, dude, all the activities.
Oh, that would be sick.
Hiking, some nature.
Yeah,
I'm in for that for sure.
Did you sync up with Levitan? He's out in Colorado, right?
Yeah, I was with Wiggins and Levitan. We went to a restaurant in Evergreen. Foliage is fantastic. Yeah, it's great.
So 40 people, just a massive amount of people took Pittsburgh, which is bad for us.
Yikes.
Baltimore was pretty popular. Dallas, KC, and the Niners were the most popular picks.
Dallas was popular? I thought that would be unpopular.
Least popular was New England, Jacksonville, Arizona, Jets, Atlanta, Buffalo, Cleveland. Colts.
So what you're telling me is that people in a $5,000 winner-take-all handicapping contest are fairly sharp?
Yeah, they kind of know what they're doing, and it did not turn out super well for us.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, only week 6. There's time. So at that point though, like if we get to the point where we're like 50th or so, we just have to start like just trying to take really low on picks, right?
We almost have to take.
Or we do that now. Do we do that now?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Every week I like to get in a shot about Leone's craft room he lives in, and someone goes, "Does Leone live in one of those small houses they build on TV?"
Do you guys grind these 2-game slates? And actually, FanDuel Sunday night through Monday night football looks pretty sharp. You know who the play is this week?
Isn't it the Sunday to 3 Sundays from now slate based on when the scoring finally processes?
Dude, I don't have the energy to do these. I don't know where you find the energy. That's the same thing with Dink. Like sometimes I just don't know where he finds the energy. I've stopped playing Sunday night showdowns with doing this show. I just don't have it in me. I know I sound like a wimp, but
no,
I'll play the 2-gamer tomorrow. Got my Bills on the slate. Steve Tasker jersey.
John Brown can play?
I think so. I think he's gonna play.
Pete, I used to have more action on the smaller slates. I did that for like 3 years. I played like only the smaller slates, and it was great. And like some of the contests, even like as you like try, like because they weren't filling, so like the structures on them, at least on DraftKings, were almost like better for some of the smaller slates. So it was great for a while, but then it started to turn into just like a lot more sharp people on those ones and compared to the casual ones. So I guess catch 22 on that.
Have you guys grinded the second half showdown slates at all? I heard those are juicy.
That's kitchen specialty.
That is kitchen loves.
Giving away. I know there's some people out there who like that's what they grind. So
I think the people playing that, like the people playing that, are just clicking random buttons. So if you know the game script, if you
wait, is kitchen clicking random buttons?
Probably, but I could see where there'd be an edge. I don't know, man. It's not up my alley.
I posted, the screenshot on Twitter of Pat's lineup, and I get a DM from some random person that goes, "Nice win. How can I join you for lineups?"
Start selling lines, dude. That's how you get rich. Just start selling those lines.
Oh, I know.
It's like Blender held for 50K.
He did.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Solid.
Awesome.
Solid.
After my DeAndre Swift call / non-call, I could start selling lineups.
Touts him on every show, doesn't talk to us about him once, and then still takes his victory lap. Is that pretty much the cliff notes on what happened?
So if you sold lineups, could you do that trick that gamblers used to do, that trick where they'd call you and they'd leave half the people the message with one pick, and they'd leave half the people the message with the other pick? Yeah. And then, the half that got it right, the guaranteed winner would call back. How many lineups could you give out to how many different people and just hope that one of them hits and claim that that's the lineup you gave out?
What if I just did it as a selfless act? What if I was the first non-profit lineup seller where I just built my best possible lineups and then gave them away to people and didn't play them myself. I would be the Mother Teresa of lineup selling. Wow. Crickets. No one on board with this idea.
Yeah, that was pretty horrible.
Yeah. You've done
You've
better,
had better
Pete.
bits.
You've had better.
All right.
You used all your creative energy on that tweet for Peter.
Yeah, thank you for using that energy.
I thought that was a good bit. I couldn't even get a smirk. Maybe I'm too drunk.
I wish I need to get a drink or something.
Yeah,
And guess what? Here's the best news. The guy so we play this bump out game. It's like knockout. It's a shooting game. And the guy I compete against, he said we're gonna bump the stakes tomorrow. So I'm fucking running hot right here.
Pete, we know what knockout is, man.
Bump out's better though. It's a much better game.
What's bump out?
Isn't it the same thing?
It's exactly the same as knockout, but you have your own ball, but you can bump the other person's ball.
Oh yeah.
Only it's super fun. It's drenched in sweat and it's hyper competitive. It's really fun.
You can learn a lot about someone by the way they play that game, because there's some people that are not scared to knock you like 3 blocks down the road in that game, and I respect that for sure.
We just bump the balls, yeah. But yeah, it's fun. It's funny. Yeah. So you guys don't have any Galaxy Brain
Well, now I have to build a team.
Showdown plays here?
I mean, I Van Jefferson and leave money on the table. That's all I got. I feel like the kickers have been going under owned on a lot of slates, but the ownership projections on the kickers this slate seem about right.
I had to do the delete life after man got me on Twitter today. Did you guys see? Man saw it, but I put the wrong picture up too. McManus, who had 6 field goals today, came out with like farther down on the buttons than Higgs. You guys know Higgs for PGA?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Pete, I will just say, like, for how like politically correct your Twitter account is and diplomatic, you have so many gaffes. Like so many gaffes.
I gaff all the time.
I just want you guys to know I'm floating this bit on Twitter. Early returns are pretty good right now. So I think you guys are on the wrong side of history on this non-profit lineup seller, which I will make a bit.
Pete. I will say non-profit Pete is catchy.
Today, certainly non-profit Pete.
Oh, this thing's going viral.
The thing is you don't need to be for-profit Pete when LG sends you promo phones.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, not this. Not this.
It's a tough scene for everyone else out there. Lots of people with prominent profiles in the industry, except LG's one brand consultant wants to send all the phones to me.
We literally had to
How
move
many LG
our
phones
chat.
have you received?
He sent me 2. I have the book one, and I have the new LG wig. Retails at $1,000.
So do you use all of them? Like, can you have your number on more than one phone? How does this work?
No, I just kind of use them for props.
Pete, the hard hat didn't make an appearance today. What's that all about?
There's always a prop around, Joe. You never know.
The work zone.
We are in the work zone. We should probably
You
wrap
wear
up
that on
this
the
show.
workbench?
Oh yeah. Oh, Lauren loves it, dude. Oh, she
Just the hat. I mean, that's perfect.
we kind of do.
Sit down on the workbench and just let it happen, right?
Yeah. We kind of do village people cosplay in our home. Is kind of what we're into.
That's crazy.
People on Twitter keep saying good call on Swift. People want to give me so much credit for this Swift play.
Oh, it's awful.
I'm
dude.
not cut out to be a Dow fan. I don't want your congratulations.
I asked you this earlier, but how do you that's what's great about like saying something about it. If you say a really thin play but non-seriously and it hits, everyone loves you, and if it doesn't hit,
No one
you're
remembers.
just like, oh, I wasn't serious about that.
Well, I accidentally kept talking about on the shows, and then I did the one tweet, the new Pope meme, and I did DeAndre Swift at a GPP, so I was
That's
pretty
it.
concentrated on the bit this week. Shouts to everyone that tails me as a bit.
Who was the
Yeah,
helicopter play?
I'm
this
surprised
week?
Davis didn't give out Swift to all his subscribers after seeing you tweet that.
We should probably wrap this up, right?
All
We're
right.
getting diminishing returns.
Whenever Pete, you're the host, man. I'm just playing off you right now.
Well, I
I'm
think
gonna go-
Pete did want to talk about the Showdown slate in 3 weeks. I think there was a game you were interested in before the salaries come out.
Well, we got Leone here. I mean, what are we doing with the Bills tomorrow? I mean, that's Diggs is going to be the chalk, you know, like Leone. What's the play tomorrow?
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I was
I mean,
trying to be terrible.
I think. I wonder if no one plays Zach Moss after he's been inactive for so long. Sometimes I like those guys coming back from injury and everyone's afraid to play him, but he should step right back into the goal line carries. So I don't know. In the 2-game slate, it's thin, but the Showdown slate, I like Zach Moss quite a bit.
Please stop adding me on Twitter saying DeAndre Goat Swift, nice work, nice Swift call, brother. Big call on Swift. I do not want credit. Do not tell me that I helped you win money on DeAndre Swift. I do not deserve it. Do not write to me.
Oh my God.
All right, guys.
I got a great tweet that I'm sending.
Do you want me to punch it up for you before? I'll get you 100 more likes.
I'm sending it to you. I sent it to you.
Wow, what an absurd call on Swift. How much money did you win on that? I'll quote retweet it. I'm the new host with Dink on Establish the Billions.
You left out hashtag Nostradamus. Come on.
Well, see, the reason I didn't read it is because I've actually been getting Stradamus lately a little bit. So
Can we get Pete Stradamus trending?
Yes, please. All right, look at this. This is why the tilt space is magical. We eat shit today, and then Pete comes on and brings joy into our lives. Whoever thought on the tilt space we'd be chanting Coke Rack just in abrupt little stints there. Pete, nice day today. Thank you for joining us, man.
Dude, thanks for having me, guys. You guys have been fucking killing it.
Congrats, man.
If you guys are tuning in for the first time, we stream this show every Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on the Line Movement channel. We are playing in high-stakes contests, the winner-take-all super contest. We will tilt, we will sweat, we will laugh, we will cry. That's what we do here. For my co-host, Mike Leone, for Joe Holka, this has been the Tilt Space, DeAndre Swift in a GPP.